We're diving now into our first panel discussion, and I warmly welcome now, concerning the use cases and the opportunities that we'd like to discuss, Dr. Thomas Track with us on the virtual stage. He's the head of water management and subdivision at DECHEMA. I hope you can hear me well, and a warm welcome to you, Mr. Track.
Well, thank you very much. Yes, I
Hello,
can
Mr.
hear
Track.
very well.
You're the first one. I'm going to dive into the other panelists as well. I just want to introduce you, first of all, your colleagues on stage. We also have Kerstin Krömer with us, Strategic Asset Management at Oldenburgisch Ostfriesischer Wasserverband. A warm welcome, of course, goes also to you, Ms. Krömer. Can you hear me well?
Yes, I can hear you very well, and I hope everybody can hear me. Thank you for the possibility for the panel discussion today.
Yeah, welcome to you, of course, as well. Thanks for joining us. And we have Pedro Simón, Technical Director at ESAMUR, Entidad de Saneamiento y Depuración de Aguas Residuales de la Región de Murcia. Bienvenidos. I hope I did it correctly in a little bit of Spanish. Pedro Simón, nice to have you on board.
Okay, thank you very much. And I appreciate very much that you have invited me to tell what are we doing in Murcia. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll talk to you in a second. Last but not least, I'd like to welcome on our stage Dr. Angela Ante, Innovation Manager at SMS Group. Nice to meet you as well.
Hello to you, and also a warm welcome to our auditorium.
Thank you. We want to talk about use cases and, of course, opportunities. And I'd like to start with you, Thomas Track, concerning the question, what kind of opportunities do you see when we talk about water reuse, and what kind of opportunities does water reuse hold?
Well, thank you very much for this. From my perspective, this perspective is out of being the coordinator of a German funding measure on water reuse called WAVE, where our German Ministry of Research and Education is funding water reuse projects already since 2016. So we have already taken up this issue in a quite early stage. When you imagine when the thoughts for starting this funding scheme had to start, so it was already in the early 2010s. And our ministry is funding this research with in total about 60 million euros. And what do we see as opportunities out of this water reuse? It's of course fostering sustainable water use, and this across different sectors. We've already heard that at the introduction from Ms. Raffin. So the water use and water reuse is an important issue across sectors. The municipal sector with its urban reuse, some issues around drinking water, agriculture and industry. And all in all, to protect our, let's say, environment, our aquatic ecosystems and our public. And we see behind this, let's say, overarching opportunity for a safe and healthy water environment, supporting a safe, let's say, public infrastructure and safe industrial opportunities, also the opportunity to support the implementation of national European strategies that we have around safeguarding water resources. We have on the European level lately the Circular Economy Action Plan. We have the Zero Pollution Action Plan. So these also forward-thinking issues besides what we are focusing now in water reuse. And this has, of course, also impact to the challenges we are facing with climate change, water stress, water scarcity. And let's say, seeing it from our national perspective, it has also a very strong economical perspective, because with these, let's say, innovations we gain out of this really applied research, we have the opportunity on the one hand side, looking firstly to Germany, to strengthen, let's say, the water reuse technology providers and knowledge holders as key enablers for providing solutions against water stress and water scarcity in Germany and in Europe and beyond, also for global challenges that we have. And of course, secondly, fostering a water safe environment wherever we are moving forward and promoting the implementation of water reuse solutions for the public and for water users and for nature, of course, as well. So this is in a nutshell what we see from our applied research perspective as the opportunities for water reuse.
Thank you very much, Dr. Thomas Track is with us today, the Blue Planet Water Dialogues. And of course, the chat is also open for your questions, ladies and gentlemen. So please use the box below the live stream to type in your question. Mr. Track, just a follow-up question, just straight away from your little input. When we talk about challenges, and Madame Raffin already mentioned a few challenges, and you also dived into that. But what challenges do you see now when we talk about the acceptance of reuse solutions at the interface where you are actually standing between research and, of course, application as well? Can you unmute yourself?
Yes, of
Wonderful,
course.
thank you.
Not forget to unmute always.
Thank you so much.
Well, in principle, there are challenges that are related to different sectors. One of the major challenges we already heard is, let's say, the trust in the safety of reuse water quality. On the one hand side, for example, if we go for, let's say, urban use, we will have that also later on in the breakout sessions. For urban greens, is the water that is reused there hygienically still safe? But we have also, let's say, challenges that are focusing on more technical feasibility and efficiency when we look for other use cases, use sectors. For example, for the industrial reuse, there's the question, is my production process still safe with reuse water? Is there a potential that this is getting interrupted by my reuse water? Or is it the worst case, the product I'm producing negatively influenced by the quality of my reuse water? So these are, let's say, two different types of challenges we have. On the one hand side, the hygienic aspects for safety in the, let's say, in the non-industrial environment that also goes to agriculture. And then, let's say, these non-technical challenges like trust in your reused water, its applicability, then liability if something goes wrong, for example. And a big challenge is the management and handling of residues and concentrates. This is, to our perspective at the moment, the most driving case or the most driving factor that hinders the further increase of water reuse percentages in some applications, because simply the handling and treatment of concentrates and residues is, financially speaking, in many cases then a showstopper for the efficiency of these applications.
We talk about the financial aspect, of course, in another second. I'd like to stop here. Thank you so much, Mr. Track. And I'd like to come with Kerstin Grömer into the discussion now. Ms. Grömer, from a perspective of an operator and member, of course, of the multi-reuse project, where do you see opportunities when we talk about water reuse that holds the opportunities for your industry?
We see in water reuse the opportunity to save drinking water resources for drinking water purposes. So we try to combine the right resource with the right purpose and put the right treatment in between. So especially in industries, we don't need drinking water quality. We don't need drinking water resources for water production. So we tried in our multi-reuse projects to identify applications, industrial water applications with a high quality demand, which could be met by this reuse of municipal wastewater.
Much, Ms. Grömer, and I think you also brought a little picture, a little graphic with you, right? Can we have a look into that as well? I'm very curious by nature, so sorry to interrupt you, but let's have a look into that and maybe you can give us a little bit more details.
Now we are a water supply in the north of Germany, and we have about 1.1 million clients, and belong these clients is also industry, and we just produce drinking water quality from groundwater resources, and everybody gets the same water quality. You can drink this water, but sometimes it's also used for agricultural irrigation or for industrial processes, for water vapor production, for example, or even for cleaning purposes. And now we try, or we want to implement a full-scale plant where we take this treated wastewater, we use a further water treatment, a combination of ultrafiltration and reverse osmosis, and we give this ultra pure water to our industrial client. And there, this water can substitute fresh water from drinking water resources. And it's high quality, even less ingredients than drinking water. And our industrial clients identified purposes and applications where they need this special water quality because they have to pay for this water. So even more than for drinking water.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for outlining this. Before we're heading into the questions, and ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for sending us your questions. I'd like to ask Ms. Grömer again, where do you see the potential, or where do you see that the potential customer thinks, what is the potential customer thinking about the use of the reused water? Can you dive into that coming from a customer perspective?
Yeah, the awareness of water increased within the last years. Also in our major or industrial clients, we see that it becomes more and more an important aspect, the environmental impact of water use. And they are really interested. They even presented our project in the parent companies and showed it as a good example for water savings. And they see that they have to be part of a resilient and safeguarding water use, and that they have to even pay for this future.
Thank you so much, Ms. Gröber. And now I'm coming to the question from the audience, straight to you. Does the recovery, and I'm reading that from the screen, so I have different screens here, don't worry if I look around a little bit, don't be confused. Does the recovery of materials from treated wastewater generate an added value or an added problem at the utility? Ms. Gröber.
That's not so easy to say. You have to take a look at the application. Just last month, we started a new pilot plant on another wastewater treatment plant of OOWB, and there we really want to use reuse not only the water but also the ingredients. And there it's an additional value, but for this case in Nordenham, we just look for the pure water and not for additional circular economy aspects.
Thank you, Ms. Grömer. We come back to you in a second. Now I'd like to come to a region, the Murcia region, which is very well known for fruits and vegetables, for very high amount of fruit and vegetable production of Spain. 20% of the fruits and vegetables that are exported from Spain are produced in that particular region, in the so-called Murcia region. That's a very important region from an economical perspective, but of course the water is extremely scarce. And we'd like to dive now into our topic with Pedro Simon. He is a technical director at the ESAMUR, and he talks more with us about the risk management in Murcia, because of course, Mr. Simon, it's great to have you. Thank you so much for joining us today. And I also ask you and address the question to you, what kind of opportunities do you see does water reuse hold for your industry, but of course for the whole region?
I see that you know the data better than me. Please, can I see the picture?
Did you also bring us a picture?
Yes.
So we have a look into that. Just a second, I got a sign from our director that it's prepared. Yes, wonderful. Now it should be shown.
Okay, really in Murcia region is in the southeast of Spain. And in our region, water reuse is not an opportunity, it's a reality, it's a necessity, because we are the driest region in Europe. You can see in this picture, our average rainfall in a year is 350 millimeters of water, and it's very low. And at the same time, as you said before, we produce more than 2.5 million of tons of agricultural products every year in Murcia. Then for us, the water is very important for us. It's, every drop is gold for us. And water reuse for us is other water source. It's not different from other water source that we have in the region. Of course, we are working since many years ago with the most advanced technologies that you can see in this picture. Usually we use a UV system or membranes are the most usual. Sometimes with combine it with some oxidants, peracetic acid or hypochlorite, sodium hypochlorite. And now we are working in some willow plant also with ozone or active carbon to remove emissive compounds. The experience that we have is from many years ago. We are always trying to optimize our plants. We are trying to give confidence to the user. I think that they are confident with that, but we try to get more and more confidence of them. And even we make some risk assessment studies to check that the quality of the water that we have is very good, and also there isn't any problem with the agricultural products that we irrigate with this water. And the result is that we are getting a very good quality water, as you can see in the picture. And well, we are using in agriculture around 100 cubic hectometers of reclaimed water every year in the region. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Simon. Thank you. I think you finished your little insight, right? Or did I interrupt you somewhere? I'm sorry if that's the case. No? Wonderful. So I'm checking your questions, ladies and gentlemen. So thank you very much for your questions. Before we dive into that, of course, Mr. Simon, talking about money, it comes up here and there, but who in the end, maybe you can give us an answer from your perspective, who is paying for the treated water reclamation in your region? How do you organize the financial aspect?
Yes, I have a theory, perhaps that is not the usual theory, because in the European Union we have a principle that says who pollutes pays, and it means who is putting these pathogens in the water. The pathogens are putting the citizens. Then I think that the citizen has to let the water in the same condition that they take. For that, in our region, the population is paying this cost. The cost is around, with the current legislation that we have in Spain, is around 7 cents of euro per cubic meter, the reclamation of the water. And it's paid for the citizen in the bill water. And I think that it's fair. Other question is with the new European regulation that it will be much more strict. Then I think that we have to co-participate with the users in the cost of the water. Why? Because the guarantee of the water is going to be very, very big with that, because it's very strict, the new regulation. And I think that we are giving them a high guarantee of the quality of this water. And I think that they should pay a bit for it. And I think that we have to participate in this cost in the future.
Thank you, Mr. Simon. I'd like to come in with a question from the audience. There is one audience member who's asking you, do you see any new players active in water reuse in Murcia? And if so, if yes, what kind of players do you see that are coming into the water reuse market in Murcia?
The players really are, of course, the administration, and after the users. The users are really confident with the water that we are giving them. They don't have any problem with that, and the people of the region don't have any problem also with that. They think that they have to pay for it because they want a very good quality in the water, because in the case that we have to discharge to the river, they want to have a very good environment also.
All right, thank you so much so far, Mr. Simon. I'd like to hand over now on our virtual stage, coming to Dr. Angela Ante, Innovation Manager at the SMS Group. Thank you so much for joining us today. And of course, when we talk about challenges and opportunities, I'd like to ask you and address the question also to you, what kind of opportunities, talking about water reuse, do you see for your industry?
Yeah, as I am working in industry and in steel industry, this is a very important topic because water has a lot of characteristics. Therefore, it's indispensable for all industries because all of these characteristics are a good chance for the use of water. And in steel industry, we have really a very high requirement of water. So just to give you a hint, it is up to 1,000 cubic meters per hour for the huge cooling circuits we need. Yeah, it's as much as, let's say, about 300 persons need in a whole year, or you need as much water as a city of 25,000 persons. So the requirement in steel industry is very huge, but the value for the water is very low. So a customer who has no water cannot produce steel, and therefore, in our point of view, the water reuse is very important in order to preserve the production potential of our customer. And as we are manufacturers, so we have to have a solution for our customer for water scarcity period. And therefore we are developing now for 5-year products, processes for reuse of water in this context. And also when there is a water scarcity, then the water is firstly used for the population, sure. And then in secondary use is in agriculture, and industry is the last one who will have the water. And therefore we have even we are obliged to have solutions. And here you can see on the left, on the top, our pilot plant. It's built in one of this project Mr. Truck also already mentioned during this WAVE project. And you have here also an impression of the size of these water cooling water circuits. So in one circuit, for example, on the top on the right side, we are transporting 25,000 cubic meters per hour in order to have the chance to recool the system deriving from the production.
Thank you very much, Ms. Ante. Also, of course, thanks for bringing a photo which shows a little bit behind the scenes. When we talk about innovations and innovative methods to reuse water, what is your, let's say, recipe for success to be on the right path, to be on that journey, to not just be on that journey, but really achieve and to get along, to use more reused water? Where do you see the highest potential?
We have several innovation and several approaches to reuse water. First of all, we are using a simple technology, very known, reverse osmosis and ultrafiltration, but we have some special challenges in steel industry because we have otherwise than in other industries, we have steel particles, and so scale particles, fine scale particles, and also oil and fat. And this is these are sticking on the membranes of the RO, and therefore we need to adapt the process to this special situation. And in order to make it more easy, we have one approach within our joint project. This is to coat the RO membranes with an anti-fouling coating, so then the flux will be dropped down also, but at a smaller amount, and the membranes can be washed better than conventional membranes. This is one approach. Then we have also the research on membrane-based capacitive deionization, a very innovative method to desalinate water. And we have also some other procedures. Very important is also what to do with the concentrates in order to have a reliable process. And therefore, we are also looking to the concentrates, because when you want to reuse water, then it's also very important what to do with the residues. And therefore, we are trying to treat the concentrates in order to reuse secondary raw products, such as sodium chloride for the regeneration of ion exchanger, for example, or other salt fractions. So we are trying to obtain salt fractions in technical quality to reuse this, because then it not only the water we can reuse, but also secondary raw products. And also we are developing a tool to be in the state that we can predict also water scarcity, because in a lot of sites it's not the whole year but just in periods, and then what to do when this water scarcity comes.
Thank you so much, Ms. Ante. Thank you, Angela Ante. Now I'm coming to your questions, ladies and gentlemen. So thank you so much for joining us, of course, and for sending us your questions. Mr. Track, I'd like to send you the first question from our audience. It's coming or going into the direction of the perspective of the current research. Are you researching how antibiotics and chlorine-resistant bacteria are taken care of in reused water? Could you give us an insight into that question from your current research?
Well, we have in our current research programs, we have hygienic aspects in there. And I think the hygienic aspects we'll also discuss in the breakout session number 1 later on. There is not a clear direct perspective or view on the antimicrobial resistance issues and chlorine issues in this specific reuse funding measure, but we have, for example, the antimicrobial resistance aspects in a European funding scheme, a Euronet funding scheme, where various national projects are coming together, where we are looking at contaminants of emerging concern, pathogens, and antimicrobial resistance in the water cycle, or let's say in the water value chain. How do they affect the water value chain? How can we avoid their occurrence? And of course, there also the water reuse applications play a major role. So quick answer, yes, it is addressed in national and European research that is related or linked with water reuse. Lastly, to the chlorine, it's not such a big issue in Germany as, let's say, water disinfection. In Germany, chlorine compounds are not so much taken into account. And also, let's say, in the wastewater treatment, at least on the German level, chlorine application is not extremely widespread.
Thank you, Mr. Drack. And coming to a question that is directed to Ms. Krömer. In your chart, you have mentioned Konzentrationseinleitung, and I quote here. Can you please explain how you get rid of concentrate?
Yeah, this is always, the residuals are always a big topic in water reuse, as Mr. Track already stated. So we use the combination of ultrafiltration and reverse osmosis to get such a high quality. But we have a big river running directly next to the industrial sites and our wastewater treatment plant. And so we had an investigation, and that shows us that we can discharge the concentrate of the reverse osmosis into the river Weser. But to be honest, if you have another location in another region, you always have to take care of this situation and take a look at concentrates or other discharges from your waste reuse water plant. And it's important to have a look at all water production processes, because even our drinking water is treated by, for example, reverse osmosis or ion exchangers at the industrial sites, because they need even a higher quality of water than our drinking water is offering. So they also have a further treatment, and they also have concentrates and discharge streams which go into the Weser right now. So it's, yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Krömer. Yes, absolutely. I take out another question from our audience, goes to Mr. Simon. What do you think about standards in different European countries, or would you rather prefer strong standards for the whole continent? Mr. Simon.
Well, it's a good question. I think that we have supported this new regulation. It's very strict, and we think that it should be the same for all the countries, because the guarantees especially in removal of pathogens is very, very high, and it's very important to reduce the risk in the health of the people as much as possible. Then I think that it's a good point to have a regulation, a common regulation for all the countries. I think that it's a good idea.
Thank you, Mr. Simon. Thank you so much. And of course, we talk about the regulation later on when we a little bit more continued with our program. Thank you so much so far to all of you. Thanks to Dr. Thomas Track, Head of Water Management Subdivision der CHEMA. Thanks to Kerstin Krömer, Strategic Asset Management, Oldenburgisch-Ostfriesischer Wasserverband. Thank you to Pedro Simon, and greetings to Spain, Technical Director at ESAMUR. And of course, thank you also to Dr. Angela Ante, Innovation Manager at SMS Group. Thanks to all of you. Thanks for joining us, and of course for your insights. We talked about opportunities and use cases.